we can use horizontal loops, we can use water loops. And so probably the main specific nature in terms of the Perth environment here is the fact that the ability to use open loops in the urban area, in the urban environment, which is quite unique across Australia, and that can bring the drilling costs right down. Available energy sources. Often as you get out to rural and semi-rural areas, there's not natural gas pipelines for people to hook up their heating to. And there could even be power limitation problems in terms of how much electricity authority is actually going to give them to their house. Though they're the sorts of areas where this sort of technology really starts to show a lot of benefit to clients. We talked before about LPG, got mentioned in terms of a heating source for on the floor. We've had a number of clients who got sick of the delivery truck with the LPG bottle turning up every Monday and replacing them over. And it was costing them a fortune. They basically retrofitted, pulled that gas burner out and put in a GFM or a geo exchange system to provide them with a heating source. Another part of it is higher end homes as well. If you're building a home from scratch, then we're looking obviously at a small percentage of the overall build, and usually it means there's more opportunity for that to go in. But higher end homes also mean by that also the greener, more sustainable homes. We'd rather be associated with a nice, sustainable green design than a big glass box or something which needs a system like this just to make it habitable without sending them broke within 2 years. So really like working in, really makes a lot more sense to work with those sorts of homes. Look, and we can provide both new and retrofit. Retrofit, as with anything, can offer some challenges in terms of getting it right. New is always often a bit easier, but yeah, we've retrofitted a number of LPG systems now, and people are looking at that as an option for them. Okay, some of the benefits of the system. Look, reduce energy costs by 30 to 70%. We give a broad range there because there's so many things you often are sort of competing against, or different systems you're comparing to. Whether it's a gas system, even a wood burner, or we've talked to people there are still coal burners floating around Australia providing heating to people's homes, believe it or not. They get out there and shovel their coal every day, sort of thing. So, but that's sort of the general range that we come within. Obviously, a reduction in CO2 emissions from power stations. If you're looking at normal electrical systems, and depending on how the power to that area is provided as well. Regulator and rating friendly. So if you're looking at Green Star ratings, we'll obviously give you points for the energy component. Also give you points for water. Water isn't so much on some of the homes at the moment. Over here, I know in New South Wales their basics requirements, there is a water element to that. But normally you look at commercial installations where there might be a cooling tower or something, which is a big water user. We get rid of that cooling tower, we can save a lot of water for that building. So you will get points in the Green Star for both energy and water. Reduce maintenance. Removing a cooling tower takes a lot of maintenance out of a project in terms of all the regular monitoring and everything else. And part of that maintenance also is the fact that we don't have any outdoor equipment. We generally have our ground loop, our cooling tower as such, or our condenser unit is in the ground. It's all protected, it's lying under there, it's not being damaged by anything. And then the heat pumps themselves are sitting inside the building. They could be in a plant room, in a garage, or even up in a roof space. Everything's out of the way. We're not sucking in outside air, which might have, sort of dust. It could be coastal, so you get a lot of salt spray, all sorts of things, and not affecting our equipment. As a result, we expect our systems to last 20 years or so within a home without needing any replacement. Most air sort of based systems tend to have around about a 10-year life, depending on where you are. I know of some areas where they're even 3 and 4 years before they need to look at not necessarily replacing them, but they definitely lose their efficiency dramatically because that coil and what's sitting outside gets damaged quite quickly. We also, in terms of noise, if you are in an urban environment, you're not annoying your neighbour, you're not sort of blowing a lot of noise into his living room, and he's not doing the same thing to you. And look, we get rid of, in terms of the aesthetics of a project as well, we get rid of units off the veranda, whether it's a cooling tower on the roof, we get rid of all those things. You don't have to design facades to cover everything and to hide it all. Typically reduce space across the system because everything's hidden in the ground, or we can put it up in roof spaces, etc. And reduce electrical load, we reduce those peak air conditioning, which is obviously your peak energy usage in buildings. A couple of images, horizontal loop here, about 1.5 metres deep. You can see here, this is a couple hundred metres long, this loop. and it's just the poly pipe, and this is what we call 6 pipe, 6 flow, 6 return, 6 pipes running off and then coming back in, and the headers, 2 headers come back into the home. Installing a vertical loop. We've got the loop all pressure tested and everything on here. The draw rig's just finished, and now that loop is going to get dropped down into the ground. And then we'll put the grouts and everything else to grout all that up, which is the third pipe you see here. The vertical loop manifolds. This house has 3 boreholes, so we've got one here, another one there, and another one further up. They're all manifolded together on what we call a reverse return header to equilibrate flows through the system. And then those 2 pipes are run back into the home. And you see here's that same project where it was a retrofit, so we've just come in through the building, through here, just with some neat little holes, and obviously there's ways to camouflage that and everything if need be. Here's a new home where we've actually come through just before the slab's poured. You can see all the sand ready to go. We're coming up with these 2 pipes. They're coming up here, the slab's going to be poured around it, and those pipes will be sitting up, waiting to be connected to when the actual building's ready to go. Internally, we run these are little pumps that push water through the loop. They're using they're a couple hundred watts at the most, pumping water through the ground. They're using, compared to everything else in the house, they're using next to no energy usage. And you can see here a rooftop installation where we basically spread out the ground source heat pumps through the roof of this building, so that you've got short duct runs and everything's so it's as efficient as possible in that regard. You don't have massive big long duct runs through the house. And to give you an idea of plant rooms, this is an 8-storey apartment complex, and this is the air conditioning plant room. It's bad photo because it's such a tight little room. We've got all the loops coming back from the ground loop, 2 circulating pumps to pump water through the building and into the ground loop, and then there's some sort of tank there. And that's sort of all that's required. All the ground source heat pumps are in the bulkheads in each of the apartments through it's about 8 stories high. So very good use of room, which gives them an extra car space in the basement, things like that, that obviously is of value to a client. And look, that's us there. We work Australia-wide, also New Zealand. We've just done some work in India and elsewhere through the Asia Pacific. We work through the International Ground Source Heat Pump Association. They set the standards and everything that we work with, and we certify installers throughout the region under those certifications. In Perth, please speak with Perth Environmental Plumbing. There are our Sydney details there, and our information there, but obviously for local projects, speak with your local people, and we'll assist where we can in the background. Thanks for your time, people.